Well, hello. So thank you all for joining us. My name is Ramon Perez from the Digital Democracy Project. We're here with Tom Keene. He is a candidate for the State House from District 35 in Florida. And we're very excited to talk to you, Tom, because as I think we've mentioned, you're the first person running for office in Florida, which actually, because we've launched in Florida, technically means you're the first person running for office in the entire United States to endorse the Digital Democracy Project and make it part of your kind of campaign messaging. So it's pretty exciting for us, hopefully just as exciting for you. And I also just want to start by saying congratulations on your winning the primary recently. The November 7th primary was a tough race. It was a three-way race. You know, the margins were tight, but you managed to get across the finish line. So how are you feeling about that?
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and good morning. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. It was a long process here. The special election popped up in May, and we've been working real hard to get us across the finish line for the primary. And I am the Democratic nominee now, going into the election. Special election is 16 January, so we're
Hmm.
we're looking forward to that. We've got about 9 weeks to get out and reach voters and talk to them and convince them, persuade them to vote for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got, not too much time. You've got a challenge in getting people involved during an off-cycle general election. And let's talk a little bit about endorsing the Digital Democracy Project. So why did you decide to endorse the project? And I'll give a little background for listeners here, which is that we as a project, we reached out to all six candidates running in that primary. So three Republicans, three Democrats. You, Tom, were the first one to say, yes, let's do this. And so what was it about the project that you liked and where you see it fitting in with your campaign strategy?
Sure. So there's a couple areas that I'll touch on. One is the geography of District 35 here in Florida. It is one of the largest geographically um, in the state. So it's about 120 miles from one end to the other, and some this is all based on population. So every district in theory is about 180,000 people. So we have a lot of space in Osceola County. Um, and so that just it makes the district geographically large. So the question is then how do you serve the folks that are geographically dispersed so that everybody gets an opportunity to participate, right? And so this project allows that pretty handily, right? It allows us to reach voters who potentially may not hear from us because they are on a 200-acre farm in South Osceola County, and we just wouldn't walk to their and knock on their door. So it gives them an opportunity to participate and give me feedback on what's important to them. So I think that was the most important piece. The other piece of it, though, is I was in the Navy for 20 years, and I voted by mail most of that time. And one of the innovative things that I saw was that this technology was using a platform that has helped military veterans vote in elections here in the United States. So I thought that was a pretty novel idea, or at least I had just learned about it. So that to me was another compelling reason to really research and see what you guys were doing. And I think
That's
moving forward, the technology is increasing. We're going to see a lot of new things, coming to the fore with technology, and this will be on the cutting edge. And I like to be on the cutting edge.
Absolutely. I think that's really interesting to hear you say about the geography aspect of it. It's not something we've necessarily thought about as part of our discussions with voters is that the technology is scalable and it allows people to get involved with their legislature from the comfort of their own home, right? So especially if you are in it like as you say a 200-acre lot or you're in a rancher or something where going to a town hall meeting is not necessarily how you would engage with your legislators or going up to Tallahassee to advocate for a
Sure.
position on something is not how you would do this. But bringing that service to the voters wherever they are, I think that's a pretty interesting point that you make, and I'm glad to hear that that serves you and your district specifically. So in terms of the technology, let's talk about how you intend to use the technology to hear from voters. You've talked about using it in Tallahassee if you're elected and allowing voters to weigh in on bills and things like that. I think you've also mentioned to me that because of the strange cycle that we're in, you would actually miss, assuming you get elected January 16th, you would have missed all the committee weeks and all the run up to the regular session. So you would actually kind of go in cold in a sense of being jumping right into a session as it's going on. So do you feel like this technology would help you in some ways get up and running quickly during the session by hearing from voters about what their interests are?
Sure. And of course, I'm just still learning about the technology myself, and how we might be able to employ it. But going up to Tallahassee in January, basically midway through the session and having missed all the committee meetings and all that run up, I'm going to need to hear from voters directly, because we don't have that mechanism set up yet. And this will be an opportunity for us to do that basically in real time. Tallahassee is about a 5-hour drive from the district, so I won't be driving back and forth on a daily basis. And so this will afford us that opportunity to get that direct voter feedback on the various bills that we'll be voting on towards the end of the session.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And one of the things that I think when we talk to all six candidates and we talk to them about Digital Democracy Project, one of the things that stood out to me about you was that, your career in public service, your time in the Navy, it seemed like, this was my impression, that you were more inclined to be a type of servant leader in a way where what this technology is asking is, um, how best to put this? If you're the person who goes to Tallahassee thinking, I have very strong opinions and my opinions are superior, and I go through this election process on the basis of my opinions, I'm going to take my opinions with me when I go to Tallahassee, and I'm going to implement my opinions, right? We're actually looking for people with the opposite point of view, which is kind of a sense of servant leadership and humility, and the belief that you can't possibly know everything, and you want voters to weigh in and help you understand the complexities of what you've already described as a complex district. So can you speak a little bit about perhaps your time in the Navy and how that kind of lent you to this worldview?
Sure. So first, and I think for a lot of folks that haven't been in the military, they think of it as kind of a one-way conversation. I give orders and people implement them, and I don't think that's really what we're talking about here. Um, in the Navy, you do learn the value of leadership and servant leadership, and that's taking in information from those that are working for you and other sources to basically serve the best interest of the team and of the mission. So those concepts of just a one-way order, that is not what that I learned in the Navy. So obviously that information, to be informed of what voters are want when you're 5 hours away, you have to reach into technology to be able to get that information direct to me. And then I'll take that information and that will inform me on the decisions that we make when we go to vote. Now, obviously I do bring my values and my philosophy, to Tallahassee, and voters will know what that is as I'm running, but they'll also be able to provide me with that feedback. And that's critical, right? Because people's opinions change over time, and as they're better informed, and I will be better informed using this technology on what voters really feel is important. So it's a good tool, and it's one that we should use in our toolkit, if you will. I mean, I'm not saying that if we get everybody to say, we don't know what the demographics are necessarily, but if everybody says we want to do X and I've said we're going to do Y, obviously we got to relook at that, make sure that we're in line with what the voters are looking for back here in District 35. Um, the importance of being accountable is also part of my Navy tradition, and you have to be accountable to your sailors, but you also have to be accountable to the voters that are back in the district. And this technology will help us do that. We'll get a scorecard. We'll see how we rate compared to what voters really thought. Now, sometimes voters aren't as informed as you want them to be, so they may have a opinion that is different, and then it's our role as leaders to inform them on why we made these decisions. And if they agree with that, then they'll elect me. And if they don't agree with me, then they'll vote me out. So, but the technology itself is fantastic to be able to inform the legislators.
Oh, that's great to hear. And obviously, we hope to to do our best as a project to keep voters informed as well about the nature of the bills, what's in the bills, what do the bills do, what are some pros and cons about it, and in a nonpartisan way, so we take some responsibility for keeping voters informed as well about the legislation. But I'm glad to hear that you feel the same way. And so, lastly, let me ask you about your career in aerospace. You know, you've been involved in the aerospace industry for many years now, and where you see this district going in terms of investments in technology, investments in the aerospace industry, the kind of jobs and growth that you'd like to see in House District 35. Can you just speak a little bit about that?
Well, the district is very diverse, but we are adjacent to the University of Central Florida, which is one of the premier colleges now in the state of Florida and the country in terms of engineering. And so a lot of the innovations that we're seeing coming out of that area, and we have a fairly robust aerospace industry right here in Central Florida that I don't think a lot of folks are aware of. It's one of the outside of tourism, it's one of the largest employers in the state. So we want to take that technology, which has always been leading edge in aerospace, always pushing the envelope, as they say, with new technology. And a lot of the folks that live in the district are going to be working in these industries. And by the way, tourism industry is leading in technology as well. So it's not just aerospace, but it's the whole Central Florida ecosphere, if you will. We also have a chip factory that's adjacent to the district as well. That's very innovative, and they're trying to bring technology to fore. We've got a medical research facility right here with UCF's medical school and adjacent VA hospital, and they're using simulation and technology to take medical care to the next level. So this is just another example of bringing that technology together that will help us then inform voters, and we want to use that technology to do exactly that.
That's great to hear. So, because I think it's common for people perhaps to just look at you and think, oh, this guy, he may not be a technologically savvy guy because he's an older gentleman, right?
An
But
older gentleman.
I think that's an area that people are perhaps underestimating just how involved you've been with technological innovation, and I think it shows in your willingness to be involved in this project as well. So that's exciting, I think, for us to hear, and hopefully the viewers will see that that's your vision in terms of how the district can develop and being an innovative district and being on the cutting edge in a lot of these areas.
It's kind of an aside, and it really isn't super serious, but when we watch television and we are able to interact and vote on different TV programs, for example,
Mm,
uh, with live voting, and we can get more votes for a singer than we can for a political candidate that affects our everyday lives. That just shows you where technology has gone. And we want to bring that kind of technology to the civic engagement as well, so people are
mhm.
just as excited about voting on a bill as they are potentially voting for a singer or another entertainer, right? So
Absolutely. So you're
yeah,
saying you'll be the Taylor Swift of Florida politics.
yeah, not exactly, but yeah, wouldn't that be great? Yeah, and I'm not allowed to sing in my house because I can't sing, so that's not going to work.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I think that's a great place to end it, and I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. You've got a short amount of time until the general election, so wishing you all the best so that you can go to Tallahassee and represent House District 35 using the cutting edge mobile voting technology that we're providing through Digital Democracy Project, but also just to be a standard bearer for servant leadership in the State House. I think that would be very exciting. So
Well,
thank you.
thanks again, Ramon, for having me, and your program is fantastic, and I want to take it up to Tallahassee. The election is 16 January, and we can use your support for your listeners. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Bye bye.